Good morning, coffee moaners. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Welcome if you're listening on podcast. Hello if you're watching on YouTube. That old-fashioned medium, the newspaper, is what we're about. Yes, they're still made. They're still made. But who buys them? And when are they ever in date? Rarely. Good morning, everyone. Good morning to this wonderful, wonderful community. We love the way you talk to each other. We love the way you talk to us. We just love it, love it, love it, love it. Faith, you got 3 out of 7 in the quiz yesterday. Welcome. As I say, if you're listening on podcast, it's your first time and you hear me mentioning names or reading comments, that is from our live feed audience. A little bit like a radio show with phone-ins, but it's just I read them out instead. Morning, Reese. Morning, Faith. Morning, April. Morning, Elaine. Sky Talon. How's Billy? Susanna. April, May, June, July, and all the rest of it. Julie the Singing Nutcase, morning. Becky Fithian, apologies for that. Cloda, if I've forgotten your name, Lynn Sheard, or missed your name, Fiona Cromack, Fifi, Ellen, morning, one. Edward Bevington, morning, all of you. Hope you're all well, and anyone else joining now. I've got to tell you a story, and it's not a story about joy. It's a story about a golden ark. If you haven't seen mine and Nadia's, I have to say, it's just so flabbergasting, the content coming out on the American election. Do go and check out two Brits perplexed, outraged, bizarred, shocked by everything going on in the American election. Hey, for how have a feeling the headlines today are going to be mad. They're kind of a weird bunch, the headlines today. Let's just do the routine move through the front pages. Hi, I'm Fran. I like doing this. It's a little bit like Sky News. Let's just see what's on the front pages, shall we? We should have like a little bed of music, Christos, shouldn't we, just at this point? It's so hard to play. Mind you, maybe, I don't know. ADHD brain, bipolar mood, mania, coffee, salted thingies, and something else. And that's it. Julie the Singer Nutcase has just gifted someone a membership. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. Very sweet, very generous. Trina Cotton High. Okay, well, let's have a look at the front pages. Here we go. Labour U-turn on freebies. And there's Angela Rayner having a bit of a natter with King Charles. Obviously, this is about the story regarding free clothes, free Arsenal boxes, free support from Israel. Not. I took free clothes too, admits Chancellor. All the freebies of high office and pretty much almost every. I think is there a single kind of career in which there aren't freebies? I don't know. I think there are everywhere. This is the big news everywhere. Mohammed Al-Fayed, obviously the late former head of Harrods. It's becoming clear that he was a deeply predatory rapist and abuser. There's no two ways of putting it. So the Sun is leading on that. The Mirror is reading on that. Al-Fayed was a monster, says the front of the Mirror. Daily Mail is still kind of caught up in the Keir Starmer hit by calamity poll, and has a photograph at the top there of Sue Gray, who's his kind of, what's her exact title? She's his chief of staff. Is that guy on the right, who's described as a Whitehall Mandarin, is he telling her to go? Is he telling her off, or is she telling him off? We'll never know. But anyway, Daily Mail obviously got the Labour Party in there. Crosshairs. The front of the Daily Star, I died, went to heaven, it smells of fried chicken. And obviously, we like to focus in on the Daily Star's front pages, so we'll be looking at that a little bit later. Why is it that when death is imminent, there's the oddest smells of food? We'll be talking about that too. But a police didn't arrest. Okay, so let's go to the actual bits that I've clipped. So yeah, going back to the front of the Sun. Fayed was like Savile, Epstein, and Weinstein. Power corrupts. There's talk now of there being, 30 survivors were present at a press conference yesterday discussing their cases, and Harrods, the company, are seeking to make payouts and settlements with most of the victims. But they're talking about there possibly being over 100 possible victims of Mohammed Al-Fayed, who ran Harrods. And obviously, was the father of Dodi Fayed, and has been fictionalized in things like The Crown and all that kind of stuff, obviously due to his close involvement with Princess Diana. There's some photographs of him in his white suit. In white suit? What's wrong with the green suit? And there at the top, rape, sex assaults and abuse, brave. Survivor Natasha on the top right there is being hugged by her lawyer, Gloria Allred. We have investigated a vast web of abuse. Fayed was a monster. One of the worst corporate sexual exploitation cases ever, they're saying. And here again in the middle pages, Catherine. I was in a panic, blocked the door with a chair suitcase. Fayed, and then in the middle here, I've got two other victims here. Lindsay. Fayed tried to rape me in Dodi's Paris flat. Gemma. He threw lobster in my face in front of Ashley and Cheryl Cole. And all of this, it's that weird thing like Savile and the BBC. There's the predator at the heart of it all. There's the person doing the awful deeds. And then there's the organization around them, essentially enabling them and covering up for them and all this kind of stuff. And so we were told, this is what they were told as employees. Can you believe this? We were told skirts must be so tight we should struggle to take a step. It's just awful, isn't it? It's just awful. I mean, it's easy to say in retrospect, one's always had a distaste for. Harrods is that. Who here has been to Harrods? Is going to Harrods? We've done it for Vlogmas. It's kind of seen as that kind of, it's the sort of, it's like Knightsbridge, shiny bauble. It's a tourist attraction, isn't it? It's a tourist attraction. So much that women have had to put up with, says Vic. Do you think these people that act this way were once abused, not making excuses? Well, they do say hurt people, but as many other people say, many abusers don't go on to abuse, which begs the question, why do some that do? There's a couple of stories elsewhere. They're not in the papers today, but I saw them online. I love going to Harrods, says Anne Fran. It makes me feel fancy. A lot of stories also about how the managers and the managerial team of the Fulham Football Club, which of course he also owned, of the women's football club at Fulham, they used to try and keep a healthy distance between the female footballers, and Al Fayed. This story is everywhere, and I think what's clearly going to come out, monster boss was enabled by Harrods, says lawyer. There's a better way of wording it, just putting out my thought. No, get it, Trina. Crazy story. I still don't understand the laws, Nimhi, around being able to say everything out now because he is deceased, if you know what I mean. Maybe the NDA ceased to exist once he has passed. That's a good question. Some people are already asking why now, why has it happened now? But I always find that a sort of curious question, really. It's like, well, whenever. If there's proof, if there's systematic proof, etc., then why does it matter when? There was an aura of threat about his tours. Fiona Sturgis told how she would see the billionaire owner touring Harrods with an entourage. It was horrible. I think some of I think I said on one of those headlines that women were asked to wear clothes that were so tight that they could move, and apparently he would sort of prowl round and be supported. Many years. I'm trying to think. I've filmed there a couple of times. It's an institution, and so it is like dealing when you're filming there. It's like dealing with an organisation like the BBC. Fran, that's an interesting point. I think the fact it's only come out once he's dead shows just what power he had whilst alive. I'm sure he did NDA. An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement, which basically prevents you from talking about certain things. The thing I've never understood, maybe someone would know the legalities on this. If someone, does an NDA absolutely cut through all illegality? If you've signed an NDA and yet the person has done something so profoundly illegal, surely the law supersedes or trumps, if you like, no pun intended, an NDA, no? Morning lexicon. So this is it's just awful. It's just awful, and the poor victims who will be getting some recompense, but it won't change the trauma. It won't change the trauma, and it won't change the damage. Yeah. So that's on most of the tabloids, and that's in most of the tabloids. Obviously, also all within the papers today is talk of Israel's continuing bombing and attacks on Hezbollah sites in Lebanon. The American government has very much, if you look at the latest press conference with, I literally can't keep those guys' names in. The guy who looks like Spock. They're really doubling down on the fact that now the line is that Israel is, in a sense, fighting on five fronts. And it is fighting on five fronts. I mean, we can't beat around the bush here. But what I would say about all of this in terms of the escalation in the region that's happened in the last week, it's curious how the press cover the end result, i.e., oh, we've got a Hezbollah, oh, this has happened, oh, Israel's done it for this reason, but they don't ever then go to the step before that of what the cause of that was. Do you know what I mean? There's only a sort of partial telling of the story at all times. Most countries in the world want a cessation and a calming of hostilities, and I think it's fair to say that Israel's latest moves this week have only served to inflame the situation. But of course, if they're getting people and hitting people like this Hezbollah chief, this is all that's needed to float it with the vast majority of the American population, British population, etc. If there's Hezbollah or Hamas in there, suddenly everything's fine and everything's justified, regardless of everything else that happens around them and regardless of how fragile this makes the rest of the region. A clear omission of details on Israel's movements. Absolutely. Only tell parts of the story. Only tell those parts of the story that suit our narrative, because we are tied to Israel's narrative. It's clear, it's obvious, and it's apparent. That doesn't mean that there aren't bad people that are wanting to do bad things to Israel, but everything needs to be dealt with equally and equivalently. Bear with me 1 second, guys. I'm back. As we were. Beep, beep, beep. It was a booby trap and against the law. Now, yes, the United Nations have also said that the way in which Israel went about blowing up these devices, it's a war crime. We might not like it. We might not like Hezbollah. There have to be some rules of engagement. And it strikes me that you can't have one side described as terrorists for causing terror and the other not, simply because what? They have elections. You could argue so did the Palestinians, but they voted in someone that Israel didn't like. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's all nuance. It's nuance and self-justification, passive aggressivity on the world stage. We all know someone. I've got to the point now where I know people, and I would describe some of them as being like Israel, just passive prod, poke, and then if anyone says anything at all critical, victim. Okay. So that's that. Big story is old. We talked about this a bit yesterday. Keir Starmer. We won't take any more clothes as free gifts, says Prime Minister. Okay. Pressure grows for Starmer to give up free Arsenal box over massive and blatant conflict of interest. Now, I don't want to keep banging the drum about conflict of interest and Israel, but here's the thing. Have you noticed we get headlines like this over an Arsenal box, massive and blatant conflict of interest? Who thinks that the Labour Party and the Conservative Party being supported, funded, receiving in-kind gifts from a nation at the moment committing what many feel is a genocide, is there not a conflict of interest in being supported financially as politicians by the Israeli state? Isn't there more of a, let's quote, massive and blatant conflict of interest around the Labour government's propping up and support by Israeli lobbies than him having an Arsenal box? I mean, call me stupid. Call me. I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. How can one thing be called out for what it is, potentially, and something else isn't? See how the press pick and choose. See how it's like, and if the press, which controls the vast majority of what the vast majority of people receive as news, because don't I mean, although we all jump on the news and focus on it quite a bit, the vast majority of people graze on news. They literally, that's why you have headlines. They graze on a headline and will not read further into the story. The vast majority of people, that's how they consume news. They just get a grab on it. And these mainstream media outlets know that. So they just give you the briefest statement, which is why you'll get things like, for example, if an IDF soldier's killed, they're killed by Hamas. But if a Palestinian family is killed by the IDF, Palestinian family dies. You see the way they do it? It's pernicious. And it's not even about what they say. It's about what they don't say. It's what they don't say. But I like this cartoon, Dress the PM. Do you remember on the back of those comics? It used to be, or not comics, magazines. It used to be on the back of kind of young girls' magazines, like not just 17, but you'd be able to dress a doll. Need to go to Specsavers. Suits you, sir. Look for naughty MPs down the bottom. I quite like that. Bryce K, it's like everyone is taking crazy pills. It's the mainstream media relies on I'd say laziness, but a lot of people don't have the time nor the inclination to, unless it affects your life today. Why should I be interested? It's funny. There was a comment under one of our American reactions. I think it was to Donald Trump's. I mean, he didn't create the pop video, music video, but anyway, we reacted to it. Obviously, we were like aghast. It was like, oh my God, look at this. All right. Now it's like, lots of pro-Trumpers come underneath the post and they've posted, and that's all fine. But one person said something along the lines of, how can you don't even comment on anything? Look at your own shit. You can't, we're America. Leave us alone. You've not got it. Just look at your own shit. And I sort of sent a reply back saying, look, I think America has foregone the right to have no one else comment on what they do, because everything America does affects everyone. America controls the world. And we're told not to have an opinion on the circus that is the American election. I think we should all have a vested interest in it. Anyway, so there you go, old Starmer boy. The only reason I brought this up, I don't want to talk in detail about Hugh Edwards. Oh no, I haven't seen that Julie the Singing Nutcase. We do have real problems with some of our posts. Haven't seen that, but I'll have another look, sweetie. Paranoid and Prickly. The only reason I pulled this is kind of what we were talking about in the week. This is the Hugh Edwards story. Again, for anyone who's not from the UK, probably our most famous BBC newsreader has been found guilty for disseminating the creation of child pornographic images. But I've said all along, there were many, many clues that even we saw with photographs that he was posting that sort of suggested, is he all right? I remember, as I said before, standing here going to Nance, is he all right? Look, he's got posting photos of him on a bike wearing leathers and stuff like that. But this piece here in the Eye, colleagues who shared the BBC newsroom with the voice of the nation, Hugh Edwards, say his conduct should have raised concerns among bosses well before his spiral into disgrace. And I think this is really important because this speaks to, obviously we didn't work in that room. I once worked with the same team that used to produce Top Gear when we did a sort of, an extreme sports series. It was the same team. And there's nothing untoward. I didn't notice anything untoward, but we met all of the cast of Top Gear. You got a sense of people. You got a sense of what the atmosphere was. And you also got a sense of how people made people feel and all that kind of stuff. So I find it very unusual to think, or unbelievable to think, that no one got a real sense that something was afoot if members of the public were seeing photographs on his social media thinking, is he all right? Is he okay? And the reason this is important is I do think this is where institutions have a job, because if they had picked something up earlier, pulled him in, said this is a bit, it might have stopped him doing something worse. It might, not for his career, but hurting anyone else or making other people feel threatened or what have you. And I think this idea that these organizations often just mollycoddle and placate and live in fear of rocking the boat with this talent, what then happens is that talent becomes ever more untouchable, and they feel impervious. They feel immune to the normal kind of limitations of behavior, and they go mad. You could argue exactly the same, Faith Goodman, ITV with Philip Schofield. You can say the same with Jimmy Savile. We've just talked about Muhammad al-Fayed. Most of his staff will have been living in fear of him, and this is where it comes from. It comes from fear. It comes from fear that if you're the one who says to some other manager, do you know what, Hugh Edwards was behaving a bit oddly, they'll be like, go to the back of the queue, son, or careful if you. Well, you create the monster. These institutions do create the monster. So there is huge culpability in these organizations. So when I see things like this, I think, yeah, well, it's hardly surprising. I mean, we were talking about it before. Harris, just going back to the American election, we talked about this a lot on our American content. Go and check it out. Kamala Harris, if you break into my home, you're getting shot. She's basically saying she's got a gun. She said it to Oprah. She kind of pretended it was on accident. I think it was kind of accidentally on purpose. I think she wants to appeal to the same people that, love Trump. So now let's move into we're moving into the lighter stories. Who's heard about cinnamon the capybara? How do you pronounce it? Is it capybara? Capybara? Are they called a capybara? Do you know what they are? Has anyone heard of cinnamon? Cinnamon the capybara is on the loose after escaping from Shropshire Zoo. Apparently this has been a thing. This has been a whole thing. Capybara, giant rodent. Funny looking things, aren't they? Anyway, captured cinnamon, the escapee capybara, I can't say this, has been found. They've relocated him, and I think that's important, because every time I go onto fucking social media, I just keep seeing capybaras, and I think I can't fucking say it. I think she has been found. Yeah, no, this is it. That's the story. Maybe I didn't make it clear. Cinnamon, the escapee capybara has been captured. It sounds a bit weird, captured, doesn't it? It's been found. It's been found and it's been rescued. The substance looks good, the movie, doesn't it? What do you make of this story, guys? Convict wins £5 million after an attack on him caused a phobia of kitchens. Get this. A burglar left with life-changing injuries and a phobia of kitchens after he was stabbed 16 times while he worked in a prison canteen has been awarded more than $5 million in damages. He was struck multiple times with a 9-inch knife by a fellow prisoner. At the time of the attack, he was on remand for aggravated burglary and was later sentenced to 6.5 years. His legal team claimed that he deserved the payout. Do you want to? We can see him here. He deserved the payout he was seeking because the attack had left him with very serious injuries and he needed extensive care, therapeutic accommodation. Well, I mean, you don't want to get. What I am curious about is if you got stabbed 18 times, it's awful. Of course, it's awful. If you get stabbed 18 times in public and survive, are you entitled to that kind of? Are you entitled to a? Can you be paid $5 million? I don't know. I don't know if the same thing happens. Is it because it was in a prison? It's a curious story, isn't it? What's this one? Reeves. Oh, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor. What do you think of this? Has banned paintings of men from number 11 stateroom. Starmer had the portrait of Maggie, Margaret Thatcher, put in the toilet, apparently. Well, I don't know that, actually. The lady that wasn't for turning was turned to face the wall. But anyway, no, so Rachel Reeves is doing something similar. She's demanded that pictures of men by male artists are removed from the state. We don't know she's demanded. This is the Telegraph. The Chancellor has reportedly imposed a new female-only rule on the decor, meaning that all artworks on display in the stateroom must be of a woman or by a woman. I don't have a problem with that myself. That'll help with the state of the country, says Anna Marie Shellard. Now, this next headline, just pull that up, that is funny. Is she mad, says Good Chip Lollipop. It does seem like a low priority. But I suppose if you keep looking up, if you keep looking up Good Chip Lollipop and you see him with his great big sort of locks looking down at you, maybe it's a bit miserable. Maybe it's less about having images by or of women and just, maybe it's just about getting rid of these fusty old boring, let's face it. These paintings, when you go to places like the Tate, they're the rooms you run through. I do. It's just like, this is fucking boring. I hate portraits. Not modern portraits. I love modern. I hate old portraits. It's just like, what? It is because it's a symbol of patriarchal society. I personally don't mind. That's all right. I don't care. Whoever comes in, we'll stick something else on the wall. Anyway, I just wanted to. I pulled this. This was a 2-page spread, and it's not even it's a features piece. But its claim at the centre was that the 90s were the best decade. I want to ask you guys. I want to give you, Dorian Gray vibes, absolutely. I want to give, Good Chip Lollipop, I'm giving you huge priority there. What's your favourite decade? Because this piece here in the Mail, it's interesting that it's the Mail. They say, why the 90s was the last great decade. No social media. Just get rid of, hang on a second. I'm just going to get rid of that. No smartphones, no eco clowns, no men in women's loos, just wine bars, wonder bras, and loads of fun. Now, I'm not being a party pooper or anything. You know what my first thought was when I saw this? I thought the only reason they're saying this is because no one could be, well, not at all. But you could get away with being an absolute fucking arse more then, because there was no social media, no smartphones. We weren't thinking about the future because we were all off our tits on drink and cocaine. Wine. There weren't men in women's loos because none of us had even thought or even heard of any differences in trans identity. Just wine bars, wonder bras, and loads of fun. And yet, at the same time, Trina Cotton, it was great. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, it was great. Blackberries. Does anyone remember a Blackberry? It was an era of total hedonism. For me, I look at the 90s and I go, well, that's where all my alcoholism and addiction happened. So on one level, it was great for a while, and then it absolutely wasn't great for a much longer time, actually. But yeah, what have you got here? 70s, says Lynn Sheard. 90s, happy birthday. Who's that? Happy birthday, Terry. 90s hip hop, clubbing, Steph Schultz. Loved the BlackBerry phone, says Charmaine. I was dancing to Spice Girls and had no anxiety, says Trina. You know what, Trina? What's really weird about you saying that is so was I. I was dancing to the Spice Girls and had no worries. Wasn't really dancing to, well, you don't dance to Oasis, but singing along. I'd sing along in pubs. Get absolutely rat-assed. Oh my sklod. Ellery. Wales. Here, 10 Welsh words have been added to the Oxford English Dictionary, including sklods. Apologies immediately for any of our Welsh followers if I get these wrong. Sklods is chips. How do you say stupid? Twip. How do you say that phonetically? Twip. Is it like in twerp? Iffy, disgusting. Senedd, Welsh Parliament, Senedd. Well, we know that. Calinig, New Year gift. Call, Welsh soup, I know that one. Mamgu, grandmother, I love that. Tadku, granddad. Tayid, granddad. Lekid da, good health. 10 Welsh words added to the English dictionary. But how do you say, tup? It's tup. I love that. Tup. Stupid. Oh, I'm so tup. I'm so tup. Is it tup or tup? I suppose it depends where you come from. That's why Olive was so happy. This is so sexist. At first I thought, this is a cheeky chappy one. I thought, this is fun. I thought, you guys are going to like this because Nadia gets really up in arms when I talk about sex. And I thought, I'm going to talk about this one. And this is, spinach can give a man a Popeye-style boost in the bedroom. Spinach is good for your performance, boys. But then look at the way they frame it. That's why Olive was so happy. I think Olive had a lot more going on in her life other than whenever Popeye ate his spinach. Talk about, tup, as in sheep. Yeah. Is that why they call them tups? Yeah, so apparently a study found that eating the dark green leafy veg helps slash the risk of erectile dysfunction. Isn't that awful, though? They say that Popeye was happy. Why do you just say that? No, that Olive was happy. Just say Popeye was happy. You know what? I would have gone with a different headline there. I would have put Pop Eye. You know what I'm saying? I think I know what I'm saying. This is horrible, this one. Look, this is your pilot speaking, squeaking. We're landing as there was a mouse found in a meal, a mouse that sneaked into a passenger's in-flight meal caused the Scandinavian airline to make an emergency landing. The flight took off from Oslo, headed for Malaga, but diverted to Copenhagen because they found a mouse in the food. Ugh. Oh. She opened the food and out jumped a mouse. Imagine the panic. Oh. A mouse in your food. Oh, they're eating mice too. I know. I'm just slimming down some of the stories for you. Oh, hang on. No. Oh, yeah. Oh, no. I thought this was nice. I think I've said to everyone, if you've got any old VHSs or any old DVDs, especially Disney ones, keep them. Keep them in the loft or keep them in a cupboard. That's not a big deal, Bryce. Okay, what eating a mouse jumping out of your airport food? You having a laugh? Just one second. Okay, sorry, just one second. Just gotta send a message. It's not. It's terrible. Bryce K. What would you have eaten it? Would you have eaten it? Let me show this. This is fun. Higher and higher. Who would like Blockbusters to come back? I mean, well, the problem is we haven't got any VHS players, but we have got DVD players. Most games consoles like PS4s, PS5s, they all play DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that. Anyway, this chap here, I like this. One of Britain's last film rental stores is enjoying the busiest time in its 29-year history. This is Dave Wayne, and his dad opened Snips Movies in Bebbington, Merseyside. He says popularity is going through the roof. Oh, I don't know why. I think there might be a return. You know, like vinyl's kind of making a comeback. Do you think there could be a return to VHS, DVD? Well, we haven't got any VHS. It can't be a return if you can't play the fucking thing, right? But DVDs, I suppose you can. But look, these are his top titles. 28 Days Later, Dogma, Live and Die in LA, Heavenly Creatures. That's a great film, Heavenly Creatures. Heavenly Creatures, Kate Winslet, right? Great film. And Kundun. Sort the tracking on it. Do you remember that? You'd watch, yeah, do you remember you put a VHS cassette in and you'd get all that and you'd have to, what would you do? You'd press a button on a remote. We had a remote for a telly, my mum and her girlfriend at the time, that had a lead. And then, yeah, oh my God, the top loader. A top loading, oh mate. I think I've got a VHS player in the loft somewhere. Sticking with small rodents that make squeaky sounds that leap out of meals. This is a good one. Squeak as you find missing guinea pig found by playing the sounds of its brother. A guinea pig that was missing for 3 weeks was found 9 miles away after his owner played a recording of his brother squeaking. Oh, I've got a feeling that Autumn, that's the name of this guinea pig. That guinea pig there is called Autumn, as in the season. I think Autumn and Cinnamon eloped. And they discovered quite quickly that even eating loads of spinach couldn't get them physically over the clear barrier between being a capybara and a guinea pig. It could only go so far. But Autumn vanished, and devastated owner Keely Scott, thought he was lost forever. But when walkers on a Facebook page reported a brown and white guinea pig on a river path, she went along with recordings of Autumn's brother pig squeaking, and Autumn ran out. Oh, that's so sweet. It would be an interesting thing. Mind you, a capybara looks like a guinea pig has had sex with something, doesn't it? With long legs. Any Scots here? Sporran firm is hit where it hurts. Do you get what they did there? Because a sporran covers the crutch. What is a sporran for? Can any of our Scots followers tell us? We're doing the regions today. As foreign imports hold sway, a traditional sporran maker says the critically endangered craft is under threat from cheap imports. What curious market to target, even, from abroad. I know what we'll do. Let's make cheap sporrans. I suppose, maybe there's a demand for them. What goes in a sporran? Not a VHS cassette, I know that. Is it a dram of whiskey? Is it a what are they called? What's the food called? What's the meat in a, oh my god, haggis? Haggis in there? It's a purse. It's a purse, of course it is. Right, I want to ask you guys, would you what do you think of this? Pupils with anxiety allowed to listen to music during exams. I've got a great idea for a band. Here's the way for a new up and coming band or group or singer to go to break Spotify. Perform a song, write a song, create a song in which all the lyrics are the answers to maths at GCSE. And then all the kids in these lessons could be listening to music, and the teacher comes and goes, "What are you listening to?" Yeah. Algebraic formations, trigonometry, multiple divisions, carry the fractions. I'm telling you now, turn cheating into music and you'll be very popular. You'll be very popular. And what's the other story on that page? Oh, neighbours called police over nude painting. Okay, would this offend you? Check this out. Well, you can see what the sign is covering, right? A gallery has been ordered by police to remove a portrait of a naked woman from its window in Hay-on-Wye in Wales. Wales, I think she painted this as a response to the joy of having 10 new words or 20 new words from Welsh put in the English dictionary. And she just went, "Whee! Let's pop this up in the window." Painted by the artist Poppy Bainham, it shows an unclothed woman's body with her legs wide open. The headless figure is wearing red cowboy boots and has a black triangle and wool for genitals. But we're not showing you that. We're not showing you that. Would you, if you saw that in the street, would you be like, "Oh, got to steer Casper around this one. Where's Johnny? Make sure Johnny's got his headgear pulled over his face. Get a balaclava on Johnny's head right now." Do you think it'll be a giant willy next? Yeah, art is meant to offend, but I don't know if it should be in shop windows. Okay, this is an amazing. What do you think of this? To see or not to see? What do you think this headline is referring to? To see or not to see? Whether it is nobler to suffer the outrageous fortune of slings and arrows landing in my face. We won't say the word joy. We don't do the word joy. I don't like joy. I just like golden showers. To see or not to see? This is amazing. An underwater sculpture inspired by Hamlet's Ophelia. Check this out. Would this freak you out? This is, where is this? Is in the Alluvia. River Stour. Oh, it's in the River Stour in Canterbury. This is in Canterbury. My college. Look at that. Oh, I think that's quite. In fact, I think that's in the river that was out the back of the tiny little digs we had. Would that freak you out? I think it would freak me out. Because it's quite pale. Well, look, when you see that in the water, there's something serene about it, isn't there? There is. I don't know if it's lit up as well. If you're not warned, yeah. If you just saw it, you'd be like, "Fucking hell!" Yeah, you'd have. Yeah. Oh, but look at that. Yeah, I don't know. There's something. I love that photo. It's a great photo, isn't it? But yeah, if you just stumbled, imagine. I mean, if I was a student, I mean, that was the river I think I used to wee out of the window of our bathroom into. I mean, imagine staggering down there drunk in the 90s. Having danced to the Spice Girls, and then you see that in the water. Christ almighty. You might be wondering, why did he just flash up? It was just a DM that she said, no, it's Florence Pugh. I just thought, let's see beautiful people, down-to-earth people who've become incredibly successful, having fun in the sun. Hugs and kisses all round. Florence Pugh's perfect summer party. This is just as pure, gratuitous. Yeah, I want to be a friend. I want to sort of, well, I don't actually. It'd be odd because she's too young, but you know what I mean? They all look like they're having a lovely time. And I just think, I like Florence. I won't hear a wrong, bad word said about her. I think she's lovely and she's down to earth. and she's great. So yeah, I just thought, yeah, let's just look at, Moving on. Look out, Gen Z. Alpha is on the up. God, fucking hell. We've only just begun to work out what Gen Zers are. But now Generation Alpha. So Gen Z marketing videos, you probably saw the things that we showed during the week, organizations trying to use Gen Z language. Well, we've already moved on. Gen A, or Generation Alpha, is snapping at the heels. So baby boomers came after the war. I just want to move through this because this is an opportunity just to clarify what the fuck are we all. So baby boomers came after the war. Then it's Generation X, I think that's me. And then Generation Y, also known as millennials, or is that me? And then there's Gen Z, which was born between 97 and 2010. Which one are you? I want you to tell me what you are. And then those born since 2010. Oh, that's none of our kids then. A Generation Alpha, and companies are already competing for them. They use words like and they just use phonemes. I think as each generation moves along, they're going to use less and less words and more just. That's so. I'm feeling so. Oh, it's got such a sort of. That sort of thing. I think that's what we're going to be looking at. It doesn't say what their language is, but anyone watch The Perfect Couple? Come on, have you not watched our review and thought, fuck me, we need to waste 6 hours watching that stuff? Come on, have you watched it? Come on. With what's her face? What's her fucking name? Oh my God. What's her name? Nicole Kidman. God, my brain is a fizz today. Nicole Kidman throwing in another performance, a bit like many of her others, but it works. It works in this one. It's joyful. It's not joyful. Anyway, I like this story because one of the greatest aspects of it for us in our review was the title sequence, which is this unusual sort of flash mob dance in the titles, which pays no heed to character. And I like this story for any fans of filmmaking and all this. The Perfect Couple, the cast right to try and veto the opening dance? I love this. Apparently, in a WhatsApp group, they all contacted each other because and were keen to try and have the flash mob dance removed. Hang on, there's just everyone was in the WhatsApp group. Yeah, they tried to veto it. Everyone was on the WhatsApp group saying they didn't want to do this because we just didn't understand. I don't think any of us could make sense of doing this choreography as these characters. We were like, wait, where does this fit into the scheme of things? Now this is really important. So most of the actors, they were like, where does this fit into the scheme? This isn't part of the assignment. Even Nicole Kidman seemed reluctant. I didn't feel like Greer would dance. The final nail in the coffin was Ben Shepherd and Kat Dean performing it on This Morning. Now, here's the thing. This is funny because for me, this story speaks to not actors do know how their craft. They're great, right? But sometimes they don't know what's best for a film or a project. They might be like, but my character. I don't know what you think, Reese. I don't know what anyone else is into films and filmmaking and all that kind of stuff. I just thought as a title sequence, it allowed us all, actually, it helped us all align with all of the characters in some way. We saw some humanity. It made us like a part of all of them. So it wasn't character driven. It was impressionistic. But I love the fact that all the actors were sat there going, well, I don't really think my character would dance in a free-form fashion on a beach. Shut the fuck up. It makes a great title sequence. It's going at the front, and there's going to be loads of headlines about it, more than there are about you. It's an all right series. You might have seen our review, Reese. It wasn't brilliant. Flash mobs are just Hollywood trying to be Bollywood. Hadn't even thought of it like that. You're absolutely right. Bollywood's been doing it for bloody years. God, so unoriginal. And there are us with our white privilege just thinking this is innovative. And it's not. Over 75s exercise more than Gen Z. Don't know what that means. Well, I do. It means that old folk exercise more than people half their age, as it says at the bottom. It depends on whether you can. Hey, Mum. I don't think that's strictly true for everyone. Now we get to the story you've all been waiting for, the front of the Daily Star. I died and went to heaven. It smells of fried chicken. For those of you listening, there's a front page of the Daily Star with a bucket of KFC singing Brain Doc's incredible journey to the afterlife. So Heaven Sent. Bloke who's been to paradise and back says it has lush fields, waterfalls with crystal pools, and a vivid aroma of fried chicken. Why, when people talk about one of the symptoms potentially of having a stroke is that you suddenly smell burnt toast. What is this thing around food smells and death? It's weird, isn't it? It's weird. I kept smelling the other day something like, it was like icing, like sweet cake icing. Can you smell icing? It had whatever, but I could smell sweetness. So I think there's something to be taken from this that's for good. I think, well, having said that, actually, I went and got a KFC. I was in Brixton really late one night, and I went into the KFC in Brixton. Don't know if anyone else has been there. It's near the Ritzy. It was 10:30, and they weren't shutting, but the security guy on the door wasn't letting anyone in. I said, you don't understand. I need urgent chicken, and I need it now. He let me in. I've never been more disappointed in all my life. It was dry. Now, what happened to the 90s? Let's get back to the 90s. KFC in the 90s was dripping, was sticky. It was a bit... and it was lovely. I don't like all this healthy, dry shit. Chicken shit. Now, I want you to guess, who are these steaks? Who do these steaks look like? This is a picture one, so if you listen on podcast, you're fucked. All I'm going to say is I'm feeling great joy because there's two of me and the world just couldn't cope. This is Donald Trump on steroids. On steroids. Yeah, those are two steaks that look very like Donald Trump, but I can't help but feel they've forced the noses out a little bit, don't you? Just a little bit. Anyway, there you go. A little trot through the news. Serious, silly, and I now want a KFC. I really do. And my stomach is rumbling. At 11 o'clock, the Curly Cooks of Croydon lands. It's a pre-record, but it's going to be a premiere, so you can all chat amongst yourselves whilst it's going. And later tonight, you have a very funny home time vlog of Nadia forcing me very much out of my comfort zone and to go foraging. I kid you not. Foraging, and breathwork. No.